Hello, Professor, and my dear colleagues. We members of Group 8 are here to present a data visualization case study giving you an overview on the accidents taking place in the Genesee Council. The datasets that we have considered for our analysis are firstly the crashes taken place in the Genesee Council, and secondly the projection model in terms of population for each of these counties. In our first visualization, we are trying to show the number of accidents that have taken place in each of these counties. We can see that the number of accidents have taken place more in the Monroe County. But that's not the only parameter to be considered to give a valuable insight on the accidents ratio over the Genesee Council. Let's look at some of the other parameters considered during our analysis. The second parameter taken into consideration was the ratio of per capita accidents taken place in each of these counties. We see that the Yates County turned out to be the highest for the per capita accidents, whereas the Monroe County turned out to be the lowest. We have also tried to show you the other accident types that have occurred in each of these counties over the period of time. Playing the animation, we see that for each hour, the number of accidents keeps on changing, and we can get an overview that not only the Monroe County but counties in Ontario and Wayne too has different or more number of accidents over time. When we consider some other parameters into consideration for a per capita incidence, we see in our next visualization that although the population and the number of incidents taking place is more in Monroe County and less or the least in Yates County, the per capita incident ratio turned out to be exactly the opposite. For both of these durations, we have segregated based on the number of incidents over time and different other scenarios into consideration. Some of the characteristics of these accidents are as follows. The type of accident shows that the maximum number of accidents have happened due to collision with motor vehicles. But we have seen a gradual decrease between 2011 and 2012 because of geographical factors that we have researched so far. We saw that the amount of snow during those years have drastically reduced, and eventually this can be supported by analysis on the injuries and fatalities that took place during those years as well. Based on the weather conditions, most of the injuries turned out to be during clear and cloudy weathers, whereas September being the most affected year in terms of injuries. And for days of the week, Friday turned out to be highest in terms of accidents, I guess for obvious reasons. Moving on with our analysis, we can see distribution over time as well. Since we saw a general trend during the working days from Monday to Friday, we grouped it and named it at weekdays, and over the time, Saturday and Sundays as weekends. We saw two different peaks at 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., possibly because those are the times when people leave for work and return from work. Whereas on weekends, we saw a peak mostly during the duration of noons, that is 12 and 1. Moving on to our next visualization, we try to do cluster analysis for analysis where we have grouped similar elements into consideration which showed similar characteristics over time. We got quite a different and a generalized cluster, as you can see, which showed equal and varied variations for each of our 5 clusters that we have taken into consideration. The clusters that we got were based on hours, that is morning, afternoon rush hours, evening, and night. Each of these clusters had different count of hours, that is the morning had 6 hours, whereas afternoon was divided by 4 hours, afternoon rush hour by 3. This is some of the analysis or research procedures that we found in most of the references we took online as well. In terms of accidents that took place during these clusters, we saw the maximum number of accidents happen during morning, whereas it happened least during the night. But when we considered in terms of the ratio of accidents over time period, we found out that afternoon rush hours turned out to be the highest. Moving on to the number of fatalities that took place because of these accidents. In our previous visualization, we witnessed that night turned out to be the least in terms of accidents and also in terms of the ratio per accidents over time period. But in terms of fatality, it turned out to be the highest, whereas on analyzing we see that afternoon had the greatest number of fatalities in terms of numbers, but in terms of ratio per vehicle, night turned out to be the highest or the winner for the fatality solutions. Giving a solutions or an overview as to how we can improve our accident cycle, or reduce the number of accidents taking place in each of these counties, we can give various suggestions based on the traffic controls and various other parameters based on which street needs what kind of protections or traffic control elements, or during what characteristics we can suggest or analysis. If we see that the cluster during morning, we can find out what accidents took place, what are the top five streets where these accidents took place as well, and what factors were present during those conditions. So a lot of analysis can be put into it to find how we can improve the traffic conditions in each of these places as well. Lastly, to summarize our insights, we can see that initially we found Yates to be among the highest per capita accidents ratio county. Secondly, the conditions were not directly related towards our accidents in each of these counties. Night turned out to be the highest winner in terms of fatalities, even though afternoon was one of the clusters where most number of accidents had taken place, and we saw a general significance drop in the number of these accidents taking place from 2011 to 2012. So this is all about it for our presentation. Thank you.